Okay. Hi everyone, I have Rayan here and she is Lebanese. She has been in Lebanon in the best of years and during the current crisis. She is now safely based in Egypt just as of recently. And I wanted to have you join us in conversation today. To let you know, she is a Reiki, I'll let her introduce herself, but she is also a Reiki master, an energy worker, an energy healer out of Lebanon. And I wanted to invite you to this conversation to let you know that right now, as we speak in August 2021, Lebanon is in a deep crisis. And I wanted you to introduce you to somebody who is on the ground, on the front lines, living there, and get you a feel and understanding of her current experience and her family's experience living in Lebanon during this deep time of crisis. So welcome, Rayan. Thank you so much. Rayan and I have known each other for a few months now. We were blessed to meet on the internet, and she's a kindred spirit. A lovely, beautiful soul, and someone who is still full of hope and light, even amongst this crisis. So, Rayan, can you please introduce yourself? And yeah, just let us know. It's an open conversation. Let us know what your experience is and what people can do to help, and how we can somehow also make a difference, even if it's just one person within our conversation today.
Thank you so much, Ivy, for inviting me today. First of all, as you mentioned, me and Ivy have known each other, I think, since 4 months now. I actually joined one of Ivy's self-love magnetic course, which was really amazing. It really helped me in many ways. So I'm very grateful for that. So thanks, Ivy, for that. She's a great coach for anyone who's interested. Join her course.
Yeah.
So as Ivy said, that I'm originally Lebanese, and I've lived in Lebanon during its good days as well as its bad days. And for people who don't know, Lebanon is known as a phoenix. So it keeps getting destroyed, it keeps rising back up. It always has these back and forth. It's never stable. So that's why Lebanese people are known for being resilient. They're known for living in the moment, because we don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I actually never had this realization till I came to Egypt, when my friends were telling me the difference between an Egyptian and a Lebanese is that with Egypt, their life is stable. So they know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's like a routine. But they're like, for Lebanese, you guys don't have a stable life. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you're just living in the moment. So that was like a huge difference and realization that I come to realize just recently. I'm like, yeah, that's actually true, because we could be living normally in Lebanon, and then all of a sudden, like what happened during August 4, boom, like one of the biggest, largest nuclear bombs happened in world history, in the modern history, was actually in Lebanon, after, they say, after Hiroshima, if I'm not mistaken. And this was like people were living normal lives. Nobody expected anything. We're just walking. Like I was there near the port when that happened. I missed it by 10 minutes. I was around Beirut doing some errands, finishing some things. As soon as I left the middle of the city, it just exploded. So I got home. I was like, I was just there. So imagine if I was like 10 minutes late. So all of us went like, we freaked out, messaging our friends, family, where is everyone? Is everybody okay? So it was a very horrible feeling to experience. And it felt like an collapse when your whole, like your favorite city, like, you know, the city you grew up in, the city you know and grew to love, was down on its feet. So I
And they
think that
never have. It's been 1 year now. I think they
1 year,
celebrated. They honored the 1 year, and it's just been. It has declined so quickly since then.
yes. And there hasn't been any justice since then. Many people left the country. There was a huge mass of, how do you say it, immigration of the brains. So many smart doctors, engineers, artists, many smart, talented Lebanese citizens actually left the country. Like we have many doctors who were so good that left. And after the explosion, we ended up going through an economic collapse. So political and economic collapse, which is actually one of the top 3 worst economic political crisis in the 19th century. So you can imagine, from a bomb to a political economic collapse where the banks went bankrupt, you couldn't take your money is stuck in the bank, you can't use your credit card, you can't even take out your money. The lira went from 1,500 to 1 USD. Now it's like 20,000 liras to 1 USD. So it's a huge inflation. So we have the lowest minimum salary in the world, which is $30 per month at the moment.
Yes. And this was
So
from a thriving city. Yeah, it has been, it's had its turmoil over the years. Like you said, it's never really been stable. But as of late, yeah, it definitely is one of the most devastating crises too. And it's not even, yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm here in the West, I'm here in Canada. We don't hear too much about it. There's a large Lebanese population here in Toronto. So there's a lot of people with a lot of relatives, close relatives still living there. I know that as a child, a lot of Lebanese people had come over in the, it would have to be in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. I come over. Some of them have been my childhood friends, new immigrants. From Lebanon, and you have been there for 8 years. And what has the mindset been like for you? What is the spirit and has been like for you? Because you're generally like a very upbeat, optimistic, and hopeful person. So how have you been keeping your light?
I actually was never like this. I was actually somebody who was very negative, very pessimistic until like a year ago when I started to change my mindset. I started to change my energy. That's when I realized I could be a light worker. So I went deep into shadow work, etc., etc. So I got out of that pessimistic, negative mindset. And even when the bomb happened and everything happened, I still kept strong that no, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I was only one of the few people that still, talked positively and saw something, that there's hope at the end. And I would get like comebacks, oh, you're living in La La Land, you're in this bubble, you're this and that. I'm like, okay, I cannot really change the environment. I can't change what happened to my country. Like I cannot change the explosion or the economic crisis. You need to just find ways on how you can rise from the chaos. That's why I always tell people there are two types of people who see it as an end, that this is the end, their life is gone. People who see it as an opportunity. Okay, what can I do now to give back to my community, or to improve myself, or to get out of it? So there are two different types of people. So for me, I ended up working more in light work. So I was like, okay, in these times, people need hope. And I realized people did need hope, especially because therapy in Lebanon was not cheap. Like people used to spend $100 or more just for an hour. So I ended up doing some energy healing sessions online because it was quarantine, and for a very affordable price. So people would come, they would need help, they would need advice. So I would help them. People were like, yes, we need more light workers, because in the Middle East, we don't have as many light workers as you see in Canada or in the States. It's not that common. Just recently, people are trying to accept it, but it's still not there yet. Like not everyone believes in energy healing or believes in holistic therapy. So me and a group of other small community are trying to do like workshops, are trying to come together to bring hope, to seed for a new Lebanon, to give hope to people and to help them with very affordable prices, and in a different way, not just through listening to them, but actually giving them techniques and ways to feel their body and soul and their mind. So I've been doing that for like more than a year. And even during the explosion and everything, sometimes I would like tell people light a candle for Beirut while you're doing a ritual at home. One time I did an online free workshop, me and a friend, where we talked about the situation in Lebanon and how you could change your mindset, because everyone had a negative mindset. There was like a collective trauma. And if you ask anyone who is in Beirut now, would tell you there is a collective mental depression, trauma. Anxiety rates are like up to more than 90%. suicide rates have increased. So mental health has been on the rise in Lebanon. So people can't afford because the lira has deteriorated. So people are seeking something affordable, something that could help them. So it's been a journey and I'm trying as much as I can. But at some point, I felt that it was also taking a toll on me when it just became like too much because I wanted to open a center, like a physical one in Lebanon, and I invested in it and I wanted to open it and get people to come at the center to stop doing online sessions. And as soon as I wanted to open the center, we had a fuel crisis, we had electricity crisis. So I couldn't really open the small center that I created because nobody could come. There was no fuel and there's no electricity. So
So what was that like? I mean, yeah, just explain so that people really, really understand. I mean, there is no fuel at the gas stations. There is no gas at the gas station. I remember even that when we were doing our training, your internet would go out. You were sitting in the dark.
Yes.
There's no electricity. Like people cannot fathom that because they take it for granted that you get to turn on the lights and electricity will be there. And you would live in with that too. I mean, you had experience of living with not, taking it for granted, but now for the first time in your life, you would turn on the lights. You cannot turn on the stove. There was no hot water.
Even sometimes there's no Wi-Fi because when there's no electricity, it affects the internet as well. So that's everything came together.
Yeah. So yeah, really living in that experience and then trying to stay in touch with your community and stay in touch with your own spirit and keeping yourself uplifted. So yeah, so then it started eventually. I know even with you, then that's why you had come to me, is that you needed something for yourself, that even though this there was hopelessness and helplessness around you, that you still needed to do work for yourself. And how has that helped you personally as well?
Because I ended up realizing that I was also getting affected. Like I'm also a citizen, I'm also a human. Like I can't be the one just helping people because sometimes I came to a point of I felt like I need someone to help me too. Like I'm also part of this. I'm also going through this. So it really affected my mental health. I ended up going back to low vibration, ended up hating everything. So that's why your program really helped me to come back to the flow, to my senses, to myself, how to raise my vibrations again. So I went back on track and then I went on vacation, as a self-care practice to get out of this, like the Lebanon's energy for a while. I came back. I'm like, yes, I'm coming back stronger than ever, full of energy, but I was shut down because everyone was still at low energy. And they're like, yeah, you just came back from your self-care investment for the past 2 months and we're still like in this low energy mood. So I felt shut down and then I just kept seeing obstacles and challenges. I couldn't open the center, I couldn't do anything. So I was like, okay, what am I doing? That's when I took a decision that, you know what, I have to leave. Because I came to a point in July when the crisis was starting to hit even further with the fuel and electricity as well as food. Because due to no electricity, we were getting food poisoning and there's a lack of medications, a lack of food products. Restaurants actually closed down at the moment due to no electricity and they cannot give us poisoned food. So during these few months, I would wake up and start crying for no reason. I would sleep and cry. I would be walking and cry. So I had breakdowns, just random breakdowns, crying because just the energy was too strong. So I told my mother, I need to leave. So I ended up thinking, okay, I have friends in Egypt. Why don't I go to Egypt and try to work from there? So I ended up leaving. I came to Cairo. So I ended up running my business in Lebanon from Egypt. It's been tough. It's been challenging, especially when you're trying to do everything remotely. But I've managed to do it so far, and I've managed to try to create a community here in Egypt as well. But it's still like the Lebanese energy has not left me because there's social media. So every day when I open social media, there's bad news. I was like, okay, I ended up crying, mental breakdowns. Like, okay, I left, but it hasn't really left from me. So I was like, okay, I need like help, someone to talk to, someone to come help me with this. But then I started to say, no, okay, like I'm a light worker. I know how to raise my vibration, but I'm not doing it. For once, I surrendered. I didn't really raise my vibration. I didn't go back to what I know to feel better. I just surrendered and I just felt the energy until I was like, okay, I felt the energy. I surrendered. I need to get back on track now. And that's when I started getting back on track and tell people, no, there is still hope. And that's why we light workers are still here to give people hope. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And the way I'm seeing the Lebanese crisis, which many people don't realize, I see it as the dark night of the soul. Like how we as light workers or as humans go through an awakening, a dark night of a soul. That's how I see Lebanon, because Lebanon has a history of trauma, of cycles. Now it's being broken. And when you're trying to break a cycle that's been repeating for many years, it's ugly, it's messy, it's heavy. So I'm seeing it from that perspective. This had to happen for Lebanon to finally heal, for Lebanon to finally rebuild a new Lebanon, away from the warlords since 50 years ago, away from the cycle that we had since 1975 that nobody asked, nobody questioned, nobody fought against. Now people are finally waking up against political parties. People are waking up against sectarianism. People are waking up against no public transportation. People are finally waking up. This is not okay. But 2 years ago, nobody was awake. Everyone still was divided through different religious sects. Everyone was following a political party. Nobody questioned corruption. Nobody questioned justice. People all like Wasa's connections and corruption. Now people are like, no, people are not finally standing up. So if this didn't happen to Lebanon, would people wake up? Would Lebanon finally heal? Would people actually come and rebuild it? Would people of ways for the youth to rebuild it? People actually finally say next year we're going to vote. Whereas 4 years ago, maybe less than 10% of people voted. Now everyone is planning to vote for an independent secular body to make a difference. So that's how I see it. That's what gives me actually hope. And I'm trying to spread this to people that everything happens for a reason. Spiritual awakening, it's a dark night of the soul, and Lebanon is going to heal and things are changing. It will no longer be the old Lebanon. A new cycle is coming. And I read tarot cards and I see it with my cards. I always get the Wheel of Fortune with like a cycle, destiny, something is changing. So this is what I believe, and that's why I have hope, and that's why I really encourage more light workers to focus on the Middle East, to give people that hope, because they do need it now. And that's the only thing that actually really keeps me going and staying during these hard times. Even when I get shut down by family and cousins who are frustrated, I just create like a protection field that it'll get better. It'll get better, and I know it.
Yeah, that's amazing how, well, I mean, you had to take extreme measures. You had to leave. You had to make sure that you first were taken care of, from a mental and a spiritual and an emotional level, and on a physical level, because like you said, there's a food scarcity now. But yeah, now you are safe in Egypt, and I know people are still trying to get out, but yet you are still focusing your energy. You are still trying to work there, and you still have, hopes and dreams to return there once it's stabilized again. So I just want to say thank you, Rayan. Oh, like I can't even there are no words to really express like your resilience, your optimism, your strength, your inner.
Thank you.
Today, and thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that yeah, people will reach out to you, and also for people who are interested in helping in any way they can. I will be posting. Rayan has some contacts for NGOs, non-governmental organizations that you can contribute or donate to if you're so called. So thank you, Rayan. As usual, we'll always be in touch. And I'm really glad that we had this opportunity to speak and for you to share your story and what's happening there and how every person can play a part, and just simply starting with your own self and your own spirit. And it's so, so important, the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon. I just hit stop recording.